Really wasn't expecting that to work. We'll see if this continues. Gang, I've been having trouble with this, but the last couple of weeks have been okay, I guess. Hello, this is Dylan Lang. Welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 627, Historically Epic Cultural History. Sorry if I seem more down than usual, but 2025 just continues to suck the fucking life out of me. My favorite football team is now a shitty football team, and there's no appearances of getting better anytime soon, so that was that. Baseball team is shitty. The weather, it's supposed to be average temperature 68 degrees, has been in the fucking 70s and upper 80s the last few days, with a few more days of that before we get back to normal temperatures. This is not fucking October, even though it is October 5th, 2025, first weekend of October. I think I'd be more excited about it because October is my favorite month, but why should I be when everything is shitty and nothing is getting better and no one is doing a goddamn thing about anything and everything is just a waste of time and useless. And, why do the show sometimes? Because nobody's ever watching it. But I digress. I'll just keep going and doing what I do. I like doing the show, but it's just hard to keep moving. It was getting to be a task doing the research for this week. Kept saying, when is this over? When is this over? Eventually I got over. It's just been shitty. So hopefully next month or next weekend, things will be a little bit better when it comes to weather-wise. And so with that, I'm going to try to put my Halloween stuff out next week. God, why do I yawn every fucking time I do this show, regardless of what time it is? Because it's Sunday right now, 4:57 p.m. And I got to order pizza. The Little Caesars app has been fucked up for about a month now, so I've been having to order it straight from online because it's cheaper than Papa John's is, and my kids like it. So everything's just shitty. All right. Let's go through this. All right. There is some interesting stuff that happened this week. A lot of death. Some stuff that is freaking out the maggots. Taylor Swift's new album came out and, of course, gets all the hate assholes coming out of the woodwork. Talk about how shitty everything is with that album. And then this country shows how awful and terrible everyone is with their racist bullshit and sexist bullshit when they announced who the halftime show is going to be at the Super Bowl, which the Ravens aren't going to see anyway because they're not going to fucking make it to the playoffs this year. So, yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great... It was good news. Was my 22nd wedding anniversary yesterday, so that was kind of nice. I was contemplating doing my show yesterday, but decided since it was my anniversary, best not to. Plus, I didn't have time to do the research for it. My son was out camping all weekend, and my daughter's still down at college. And my wife and I were basically by ourselves up here this weekend. Really didn't do much. My wife had to run around a little bit. I do some last minute shopping for her. And then we went to, there's two ways you can pronounce it, Fogo de Chao or Fogo de Chão. I don't know which one's the proper way, but we went to it. There's one in downtown Baltimore City, and there's one in Towson. We went to the one in Towson because the one in Baltimore City is just situated in the worst possible place. Not because of people, just because it's right on Pratt Street, and it's just there, and you have to go through valet parking, and they park on Pratt Street. It's a pain in the ass. So we went to Towson, and then after that we came home, and since my wife loves K-pop Demon Hunters and I'd never seen it, I said we can watch that. Really enjoyed K-pop Demon Hunters. Real quick, Fogo de Chao, as I call it, is a very interesting Brazilian meat restaurant if you've never heard of it before. Basically, if you order their meat table, or I forget the actual official name of it, you get a little card that says yes or no. And if you have it up at yes, different people come around it seems like every 2 or 3 minutes with different types of meat. And they ask you if you want some. And if you say yes, you get some. If you say no, they move on to the next person. What was interesting about it, when I first got there, it started off like it was going to be a little rough because it was a hard to describe what was going on. We didn't have plates. They didn't really have soda. It's really, really expensive. But it was for our anniversary, so we're going to be nice to do that. And it started off kind of rough, but then once we started getting the food, it was actually really decent. I had bacon wrapped everything. I had bacon wrapped pork, bacon wrapped chicken, and bacon wrapped steak, which was fantastic. We had top sirloin, the main sirloin. I forget what that was called. That was my wife's favorite. I had pork butt. I had Parmesan encrusted pork chops. There was some lamb that I didn't get. I was going to try to get on the second way around, but they didn't come back with the lamb. And what else did I have? I forget what's happened. It was just it fills you out real quickly, and they had a massive salad bar. They didn't have anything really labeled about what it is. You just kind of had to guess from context clues and stuff like that. Plus, it was dark over there because I couldn't really tell what I was looking at for the majority of stuff. So it was just okay. But it was nice though. Nice company with my wife, obviously, and it was really cool. Is that the restaurant seems to do a zone instead of man-to-man coverage. It seems like every area has like 5 servers that come in, and various people come and take your stuff and give you new plates and fill up your water, ask if you need anything else, stuff like that. So that was kind of cool that, you had 3 or 4 different people helping you. So you were never forgotten or never alone. There's always somebody there. And I had to tell the one waiter we had, who was very impressive. He had always had stuff in his left hand. I was able to do stuff one hand. He gave us our cards one handed. He was able to do some other stuff one handed. I thought it was amazing like that. So that was pretty cool. And I did enjoy K-pop Demon Hunters when we saw it. It is a cliched story, but it has really good music and really good animation. And I can see why it was hugely successful, as it should be. And because of the popularity of it, Fortnite has turned their island into K-pop Demon Hunter Island with new POIs. Well, they cleaned up the old POIs and made them more good guy-esque. And you could play as you could hire the K-pop Demon Hunters, and then you could buy the skins if you wanted to from the item shop. And then they had some of their mythical weapons that you could use for their stuff. So it's been pretty interesting. I did really enjoy it. I'm glad I actually sat down and watched it. I was going to try to watch the Casper movie that they were going to re-release in movie theaters on Friday, because my wife went to a concert with my daughter in Philadelphia on Friday, and my son was already at camp, so I had the evening to myself, but I decided just to stay home. And I watched Casper on my TV, as well as The Martian. The Martian had its anniversary. I'll talk about that a little bit earlier this week, so kind of watched it because of that. The other big news this week was, of course, Taylor Swift's new album, The Life of a Showgirl, debuted on Thursday or Friday. I think it was on Friday. And as always, became a huge hit. All the haters came out of the woodwork and were just out there just blasting it. And then all the actual people that you should respect when it comes to music, where like Rolling Stone and stuff like that, they actually said, screw these guys. This is actually what this is. They say it's a pretty decent album. Some of the hardcore fans either loved it a lot, or they said it was just okay. But they didn't care, because it was Taylor being happy. It's new Taylor Swift stuff. And the big story this week is her track Wood, which is about the size of Travis Kelce's dong. It's a playful, sexual song about Travis and her sex life. So people have been meaning that to crazy, and so it'll be funny to see how people react to that when they play Monday Night Football this week. People tend to like the album a lot. But what I've been hearing is, I'm not a Swiftie or whatever, but the final song, The Life of a Showgirl, with Sabrina Carpenter, is not usually in the top 5 of the 12 songs at the back end of it. So people liked it, but they didn't love it. And there was a great breakdown of what every song was about. So it was kind of neat to see that. So congratulations to her and Travis. And for all the haters, just shut the fuck up and fuck off. You're one of the reasons why this world is awful right now. Which reminds me, I got to thinking is that, when you see stuff on social media and you always see the people who drop the questions, like if you could remove one thing from the world, it'd be anything, what would it be? And then you just look at what people's answers are. It just leads me to believe there should be only one correct answer. And the correct answer to that is hate, is remove hate from the world and just watch this world get so much better. Because hate fuels wars, hate fuels racism, hate fuels sexism, hate fuels murder, hate fuels jealousy. Get rid of all that. Get rid of all that, and there might still be homeless people, and there still might not be people who are having struggles. But because when everybody is loving and stuff like that, they would help people. If someone is homeless, people would come out of the woodwork to help them, give them money, give them a place to stay, help them get to a place to stay or whatever. If you need to go to the hospital, they would go out of their way to make sure that you get the proper care for you not to worry about anything. So if you ever see one of those questions on social media again, I would recommend what would be the one thing to remove from the world. Make it be hate, because that fuels everything else. That's just why this world is the way it is. This country is run by petty, hateful jackasses who don't know shit, and are just filled with hate for no reason. Or if it is a very stupid, childish reason. Religion might be a good second one, but to be honest, that really doesn't remove a lot of the issues. The hate in general is what is the core problem with the world right now. And that's what's going on. And it's depressing, and it's really starting to weigh down on me. And with just everything shitty happening, with my teams that I like, and the weather that I usually like, which I despise right now. I'm not feeling anything. And it's really, really getting tiring and making me feel sick. I was sick last weekend when I talked to you on the show, and I've gotten a little bit better, but my eyes still have issues, and I'm just filled with dread all the fucking time, and I'm tired of it. I just want to move on. And we are going to move on now. Sorry to get all this way, but it's just, I am just having a really rough time lately, and I don't know what else to do, because nothing is getting done to make things better at all. Here's something that's even worse. Mac Jones, who was the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, was at the team hotel on Thursday morning before their Thursday night game. And he was out on his balcony, in the morning you do that always, and it overlooks this water area, and he sees a dead body float by. So he has to call the police, and they dredge the water, and they find the dead body. So just think of that. You wake up in the morning, you go out drinking your coffee or whatever onto your balcony, overlooking this beautiful body of water, and there's a dead body just floating along in the water. It's got to be massively disturbing. Even worse stuff, which driving the mag is absolutely crazy. Bad Bunny has been named as a Super Bowl halftime show. I have no issues with that. He is Puerto Rican, which means he's American and not an illegal immigrant, despite what the maggots are saying. And the maggots are losing their fucking mind because he has said that his halftime show will be entirely in Spanish, which I think is perfect, which is fine. I have no issues with it. I'm not a Bad Bunny fan. But, he's got tons of fans, and he is an American, and I have no issue with it. Taylor Swift turned them down because they refused to let her own the video of her concert because of the issue she's had with getting her stuff back. She's very cautious about what she gives up, which is understandable. But the maggots are absolutely losing their fucking minds over this. They're so stupid. They think he's an illegal immigrant because how can Puerto Rico be Puerto Rico is not part of America. Yes, it fucking is. It's American territory. You can fly to Puerto Rico without a passport. It's not a state. We've tried to get it to become a state, but and they I think they want it to be a state. I'm not sure though. I haven't read the climate down there. And then to add more insult to how stupid they are, the moron in charge said in a press conference that he had a meeting with the president of Puerto Rico and it went terribly. And he said, "You talk to yourself because you're a terrible person because you're the president of Puerto Rico, you dumb fuck." So stuff like that is just, there is no reason to go after Bad Bunny. And he, to his credit, he was on SNL this weekend and he didn't back down. We just hope the NFL doesn't back down. I don't think they will. The funny thing is, the morons in charge of ICE are just like, yeah, we're going to send ICE agents to the Super Bowl this year. So we can catch all the immigrants who are coming out of the Super Bowl. Honestly, real immigrants would not be able to afford to buy tickets to this year's fucking Super Bowl. And if you're deporting Bad Bunny, you're deporting an American citizen, which makes you how stupid you are. And you are so fucking stupid, and I'm so sick of your stupidity entirely. You and all your fucking GOP pedophile-loving bitches. I'm sick of everything. But good for him, and I hope everything goes well. I hope he has a huge halftime show concert that does very well in the ratings. I'll be watching it probably, but I'll probably be half paying attention like I did with Kendrick Lamar's concert, because I don't like some of his music either, and I was just hanging out, just sitting there. So we'll see what happens. And then MAGA continues to be stupid fucks. Mark Sanchez, former Jets quarterback, who is MAGA, was stabbed after he attempted to drunkenly carjack a 69-year-old man and beat him up also. He was stabbed, I guess, by the man. I'm not sure. Those things are hazy a little bit. But see, this fucking world is in a fucking disarray, and I have no idea what to do. Hate keeps coming. Hate. We have to remove hate. More depressing news. Rite Aid has finally closed down all their shops. So there were a few that were still lingering around, but they no longer are open anymore. So there are no Rite Aid pharmacies open anymore. So that's all gone. Guess that's about it for the shitty stuff. Haley Steinfeld has started recording her Spider-Verse dialogue for the new movie coming out in 2027. We got our first look at bearded Lone Star, played by Bill Pullman, on the set of Spaceballs 2. He looks like he's dressed like he belongs in Firefly also, which means it should be pretty interesting that they're going to take a sort of parody to all the sci-fi that's come out since Spaceballs did in 87. Michael Winslow, who does the sound effects from Police Academy, was in the first Spaceballs, was also spotted on set of Spaceballs 2 as well. So they're bringing him back as well. So this could be something special, and it'll probably be ready by next year, which is awesome. I can't wait to see that. So that'd be great. It is still Halloween, 26 days away. And Home Depot, which you shouldn't be shopping anyway because they back the convict in charge and they're mega assholes. But they are selling a 7-foot-tall megalodon shark decoration. I guess it's inflatable or like one of the tall skeleton sort of things. So, yeah, you can get your own giant megalodon, 7-foot-tall megalodon, and put it in your yard if you want to. So, go hog wild. Speaking of Mel Brooks, very young Frankenstein gets pilot order with Zach Galifianakis, Kumail Nanjiani, Dolly Weiss, Nikki Crawford and Spencer Howell as the actors. A movie that I used to watch a lot in the old days of cable when it was on HBO all the fucking time back in 82, 83, and then just sort of disappeared from sight for the longest time, is now back on Disney Plus for the holiday. Something Wicked This Way Comes, a live action Disney film based on a novel. Is getting the movie came out like in the early 80s, is finally appearing on streaming after years of no one being able to see it. So that's kind of interesting to see that. The cast of Ted Lasso was spotted watching the Minnesota Vikings Cleveland Browns game in London this week or today. So you have that. A full haunted maze. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Full Harvest Moon for October. It comes out. I'm sorry. I can't remember. Full Harvest Moon hits October 6th. It'll be the first supermoon of the year. So it'd be a very, very bright shine on Harvest Moon. Meg Hughes' new show, Ballard, gets a pickup for a second season. Trailer for a family film called Grow, about a girl who has like psychic abilities to grow plants big. Never heard of it, but it's coming out in a couple weeks. Chi-Chi's used to be a popular Mexican sort of fast food restaurant sort of place, and then it just slowly disappeared over time. Well, it is coming back. The first Chi-Chi's in almost 19 years is coming back. And set to open in only one available right now, set to open in Minnesota on October 6th, which is tomorrow. Speaking of Spaceballs 2, we know Rick Moranis has been called back into acting to do that. Well, he's decided that he kind of wants to do another movie, so he has signed on to the sequel to Strange Brew, which is now Strange Brew 2. That movie came out close to 42 years ago, so now they're going to be doing a sequel to it. And Aykroyd has joined the cast, so it's something that is going to be moving on. So Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas are going to be joined by Dan Aykroyd in the sequel to Strange Brew, which is going to be the next film he films probably after Spaceballs 2. Quiet Place 3 has been delayed until July 30th, 2027 to give John Krasinski more time to fix the script and get himself prepped for pre-production because he'll be directing it. So returning to the franchise that he created. A Grinch Christmas Adventure video game is now available. So if you want to play as the Grinch, you can now. Some treats coming up here. Honey Bunches of Oats Sugar Cookie Crisp is due to come out here soon. New juicy gummy clusters from Nerds. It has a juicy center with in the middle of a gummy surrounded by crunchy Nerds. And hot cocoa Lindor chocolates are the ones where you pop in your mouth and there's like a liquid inside. So like a marshmallowy sort of milky sort of flavor will be the inside of the hot cocoa chocolate ones, and that could actually be a really decent one to look at. Anniversaries: Gravity came out 17 years ago this week. Training Day came out 24 years ago this week. Death Note, the anime, came out 19 years ago this week. I guess also the manga too. Peanuts, the Charlie Brown cartoon, debuted 75 years ago this week. The best REM album, in my opinion, Automatic for the People, debuted 33 years ago this week as well. Deaths, we had Ike Turner Jr., the son of Ike and Tina Turner, passed away this week. And James Mitchum, the son of Robert Mitchum, and an actor in his own right, passed away at the age of 84. Page 2. Shelby Woods trailer, I guess, debuted. Kind of a haunting Blair Witch sort of thing going on. God, my handwriting is terrible. Purdue football, college football, has lost every game after a Taylor Swift album has come out. Now, they're only listing the ones that came out during college football season. Obviously, they wouldn't lose a game if Taylor released an album in the spring or the summer. But in this case, there was actually, because Taylor likes the fall also, she released a ton of albums during the fall, and every time she released one, Purdue lost the day after it was released, or right after it was released. So if it was released on like the Tuesday, that Saturday, they would lose the game, sort of thing. And every rookie Browns quarterback, they started 41 quarterbacks since they've been brought back to the NFL. Every rookie quarterback that they've started, I think actually not just rookie, even the veterans like the Flacos and stuff like that, who they brought in over time, every single one of them has lost their first game as a quarterback for the Browns. So that's interesting. Judy Greer and Jennifer Garner re-teamed for a TV series called 5 Star Weekends. I think I read the description, but I can't remember it. I think they're going to continue to play rivals again. One of these days, I need to do my in defense of Judy Greer, 13 going on 30, because she honestly is not the bad guy in the movie. The only reason she does what she does at the end of the movie is because of what Jennifer Garner's grown-up version of her character has done to them before Jenna has taken over the young Jenna has taken over her body and brings her youthful exuberance. Up until that point, the hard-traveling Jenna was the biggest bitch in the world and didn't like anybody and was just the worst, absolute worst. And Judy Greer, even though she did see a little bit of a change, hasn't been spending a lot of time with her and still thinks she's the way she is. And so what she does in the end is actually understandable. And I think people go a little bit out of their way to call her the bad guy. She actually isn't. A samurai, a script written for a samurai western, an original samurai western set in the John Wick universe has been written and is looking to get sold. The Testament of Anna Lee, a film with Amanda Seyfried, is set to debut on Christmas. It was just bought by film distribution during film festivals. It's around the American Revolution sort of time, or the Salem witch trial sort of time. Anne Hathaway and Adam Driver are set to star in Ron Howard's new film, Alone at Dawn. Sydney Sweeney's attempt at Oscar bait has been pushed to January 8th, 2026. Christie said debut that day. It might debut earlier, so it could be in for Oscar contention this year, but it actually will release wide on January 8th, 2026. Zach something and Kali Reyes have joined the cast of the Resident Evil reboot. Peaky Blinders, the hugely popular TV series, is set to get a sequel set 20 years after the end of the first one, which means we'll have a whole new generation of Peaky Blinders characters. So you're not going to probably see any of the characters from the previous Peaky Blinders unless it's as, cameos, but they would be 20 years older if they're not dead already. Psycho Killer, we get our first look at that. Holiday Creamy Vanilla Coke arrives November 3rd. The more and more I look at, the more and more I think they're just rebranding the regular vanilla Coke. I don't think it's going to be anything special. I don't think they're adding any creaminess to it, which they probably should. But we'll see. When that comes out, I will see if I can find a sample of it and do it. I'll actually taste it live here on the show like I always do. Devon Sawa is set to join the cast of Return of the Living Dead sequel. So that's pretty cool about that. I saw, as I said, Casper Friday night for his 30th anniversary. And it was nice to see Devon Sawa in that, even if he's in it for just a very brief time. Hal and Harper trailer is a movie TV show with Cooper Wraith, Lily Reinhart, and Mark Ruffalo. Don't know much about it because I didn't watch the trailer. It didn't look interesting to me. You can buy a 26-foot inflatable haunted house maze for $2,000. We had our first look at Trap House, which has Dave Bautista, who helps a bunch of school kids who spy a drug deal in process and have to run away from the drug dealers. Arden Cho and Margaret Cho are set to star in the rom-com Cheap AF. Don't know if they're related. Germany has created a bacteria-infused tiles for restrooms that eat grime and make things smell better. Stephen Jones is set to play Carl Weathers in the I Play Rocky biopic of the making of Rocky. And The Invisible Man 2 is in the works, according to Elizabeth Moss, who starred in the first one from Blumhouse. A lot of anniversaries. Night at the Roxbury, 27 years ago this week. The Howling Tree, based on the novel cartoon, debuted 32 years ago this week. Honestly, I've never seen that. I never knew it existed. The fact that it existed 32 years ago, I never saw it, so I have no idea. Terror Train with Jamie Lee Curtis debuted 45 years ago this week. REM's Chronic Town, they didn't give me a date on that. I would assume it's probably about 40 years, 45 to 40 to some years ago, because it was early 80s, I think. The Journey of Natty Gann debuted 40 years ago this week. The Clone Wars cartoon debuted 17 years ago this week. The Death of Apollo 1 astronauts occurred 58 years ago this week. School of Rock debuted 22 years ago this week. And 90210 debuted 35 years ago. 35 years ago. Or was that 38 years ago? I think it's 35. I don't think it's supposed to be 38. It's 35 years ago this week. Because it was early 90s. 38 would have put it in the 1980s and didn't come out in the 80s. It came out in the early 90s. So 35 makes sense. 1990 would make sense for it to come out as. Death, Kenneth Cullen, Admiral Piet in Star Wars, passed away. Balin Miller, a popular Alaskan climber, died after falling off of El Capitan in Yosemite. Arthur Jones, former Ravens player, passed away at 39 years ago this week. Jane Goodall, primate investigator. The Girls in the Mist movie was based on her. Well-loved scientist passed away. Zoologist also passed away this week. Dame Patricia Rutledge from Keeping Up Appearances passed away this week as well. Jared Kiso, the creator of Letterkenny, has a brand new show out called I Kill the Bear. That's due to come out here soon. Landman Season 2 trailer debuted this week, set to come out November 16th. 32 Chunk takes the Fat Bear title after many years of coming in second. He has won this year's competition, so congratulations to all the Bears, particularly you, 32 Chunk. You finally did it. A Korean remake of the Anne Hathaway, Robert De Niro film, The Intern, is in the works. The Intern is a really good, underrated film that not a lot of people know about, directed by Nancy Meyers, so it's got that Nancy Meyers quality. Robert De Niro plays a widowed retiree who is, getting bored, not doing really anything, and being bored with retirement, discovers an article, an employment ad in a newspaper saying that a company downtown is looking for older interns to just, to work and just help out around the office. So he signs up for it, gets hired, and ends up working in a shop, in a company run by Anne Hathaway, who I think sells clothes and stuff like that. And she's playing the hard-working owner of the company, trying to make it look good. And her and De Niro don't get off on the right foot right away. But eventually he becomes her driver and then becomes her confidant. And they start a cute, like, father-daughter sort of relationship sort of thing going on. Meanwhile, he falls in love with the massage therapist played by Rene Russo, who they hired because of one of these, mid 2000 movies where, this Gen Z sort of, workplace, which a bunch of young people has all kinds of crazy stuff. And then we discover that Anne Hathaway's husband is having an affair and stuff like that. So it goes a little off the rails here and there, but it's a decent film. It has some really nice Nancy Meyers-esque stuff and a really good Anne Hathaway, Robert De Niro film. And, Korean remake of it, why not? We remake everything else. We remake their movies all the time, so why not? Probably gonna work for me. 70-year-old bypasses his own record by eating his 34,000th Big Mac. 34,000 Big Macs. Yeah. The Scrubs reboot has started filming their new thing. The Carpenter's Son trailer, I talked about that already. It was the one where Nicolas Cage plays somebody who's supposed to protect Jesus from the devil, and it looks like a crazy horror film to me. Japan scientists have discovered a way to remove the Down syndrome cells from Down syndrome patients and brings back their regular normal functions. So there could be a way to eradicate Down syndrome from now on. Still in the testing phase. It hasn't been tested on humans. This was tested on a sample from I think a Down syndrome person. So John C. Reilly is set to tour as his parody character Dewey Cox from Walk Hard, which was a parody of the Johnny Cash and in general just music biopics. So he's decided he wants to go out on tour. So go for it, man. Trailer for Mr. Scorsese documentary coming out on Apple TV debuted. Tony Gilroy, he of Andor, is set to write and direct Behemoth with the exclamation point with Pedro Pascal and David Harbour. An octopus was photographed assisting an underwater repair person with a repair job. The octopus was holding something down as the repairman fixed it. So that was kind of cool to see that picture. Greece has placed wind harps along their waterfronts, which is basically their version of the windmills. It grinds wind power and helps clean energy for the Greek towns that surround it, but also plays beautiful lullabies as the wind rolls through the harps. So if your big thing is that windmills are ugly because wind fuel is, wind energy is perfectly clean and healthy, and we should have that. Same with solar. We should have both of those. But if your big thing is like, oh, the windmills are so ugly, well, here you go. They have wind harps, which will play beautiful music when the wind blows there while also creating energy. So, see, this is what's wrong with us. We're so fucking stupid that other countries are coming up with these really great ideas. These are stuff we should be coming up with. But because we're so hate-filled, dumb shitheads who are so fucking stupid and racist and assholes and just so fucking stupid, we can't do it. Vote Rising, which I guess is the sequel to The Boys, adds Cecily Strong, Mark Pellegrino, Eric Johnson, and Annie Shapiro. It's not Apiro because it's ERO, Arrow. An Iowa teen dies after being mistaken for a squirrel on a hunt. A live action Winnie the Pooh movies in the works for Disney, computer generated, but interacting with live action people. Amazon warehouse robot sprays 24 workers with bear repellent, calls a lot of people to go to the hospital, so that's crazy. The Family McMullen trailer. This is kind of interesting. The Brothers McMullen came out back in the mid to late 90s, and it was part of the Edward Burns was the director, writer, and director, and starred in it. And he was part of the Tarantino, Rodriguez. I'm missing somebody in there. Kevin Smith, young gun filmmakers that didn't really do any film school, but decided just to make a movie on their own, and then went to Sundance and were able to be picked up by big time production companies and release the movies into movie theaters. So Brothers McMullen was Edward Burns' first film, and it was okay. But Edward Burns had a okay career during the mid '90s. Was in Saving Private Ryan and a few other things as well. But then he disappeared off the face of the earth and had directed a few things here and there, but nothing really. I think he's done a lot more TV now than he had been. But I was going through my feed the other day, and I saw an ad for the Family McMullen. I was like, ooh, they made a sequel. And then I saw the weirdest thing I ever saw. The Family McMullen coming to theaters for one day only, October 15th. Is like, why the fuck would you only come out for theaters for one day? Why not give it a try to see if you can make some extra money? It's an independent film. There's no one real big in it. Edward Burns is the only person you might have heard of who's in it. And he hasn't been relevant for years. There's like no one hugely famous in it. So just give it a chance to see if some of the indie people can make a little bit more extra money on it. Maybe get back your stuff, but for one day only. I guess it'll be on streaming eventually. But I was like, I haven't heard or seen anything about this. So I tried to dig up the trailer and I found it and I posted it on my page as well. It looks like your typical Brothers McMullen thing, except in this case, the Edward Burns character is now the father, and he's the one that's taken on the paternal aspect, whereas whoever played his father, Brother McMullen, doesn't have to deal with that. And then his brother, Mike, who's played by Mike McGlone, who also hasn't been really in anything since a couple of Edward Burns films. He's also reprising the role he did in the Brothers McMullen as well. I don't think the third brother's coming because I didn't see him. But it definitely looks like something that would have been an interesting little film. Just, put in the theaters for a week or two and then send it to streaming. Maybe you make $1 million on it or $2 million. You don't know. Send it to like the art theaters. Like there's the Charles Theater downtown Baltimore would be a great place to play it. Even the Senator, because they now have all these extra theaters added to it, would be a fine one too. And plus, if you notice also, a lot more movie theaters are playing more of these sort of indie films. AMC, right down the street from me, they played the Baltimoreans. Yes, it was filmed in Baltimore. That might be the reason why they played it. They played it for about a week. That's an indie not a lot of people knew about. So I think it would have been neat. I mean, at least the family McMullen and Edward Burns, people might have heard of him. Or they might have at least heard the Brothers McMullen, because that was a huge success up there with, as I said, with Quentin and Robert and Kevin. He was had a decent success. And then he went on and he did a movie called She's the One with Cameron Diaz, Jennifer Aniston in it. So, and then, as I said, he was in Saving Private Ryan, and he did a couple other things, and they just sort of, I think he did another film that was kind of a weird romantic thing with I forget the actress's name, but did something and then just sort of disappeared. So definitely worth it. I'd check, but one day at 10:15, that's 10 days from now. So what does that put that at? That's not even a Friday, I don't think, because the 3rd was a Friday. So 7 days is the 10th. And then 7 days after that is the 17th. So it's like that Wednesday, and it's only one day. Really? Okay. But yeah, maybe keep an eye out for streaming for that. This is an interesting thing that just sort of popped up out of nowhere. Speaking of Quentin Tarantino, when it first came out, Quentin Tarantino wanted to release Kill Bill as one big movie with an intermission. But movie theaters are like, no, we're not going to do that. So Kevin, he split it in two, added a cliffhanger to the end and a recap at the beginning of the second one. And then both of them were pretty successful and made him some money. And he still considers that only one film in his 10 films aspect. He doesn't count it as 2 films, despite it getting 2 release dates. Now, it was announced this week on December 5th, don't know how long it's going to be in there, the Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, which is what Quentin wanted to call it, will be released in theaters. Basically, they will be excising the cliffhanger ending and removing the recap and combining the films into one big film as Quentin wanted to. I don't know if Quentin's involved. I think Quentin would have to be involved with that if he's going to do it, because he'll know what to do, what he wants to do with that. So that Don't know. It should be like a 4-hour probably film, probably. So it'll be released in movie theaters on December 5th. I mean, why not? Movie theaters have been doing very well this year with a lot of experimental stuff. The Taylor Swift basically advertisement for her album has made like $33 million, which is absolutely insane. That just a documentary that really doesn't have anything to do with anything except trying to sell her album, except behind the scenes of the making of it. I mean, at least with the Eras Tour concert film, it's the concert film. You get to watch the whole Eras Tour concert. So that's why that made, over $100 million. This making $33 million just because it was basically an hour and a half long advertisement is fucking insane. And that's great. I mean, I have nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. But the fact that movie theaters are willing to do that because it's going to help bring people in to movie theaters to help keep them alive. They've also been, as I said, I was going to go see the Casper re-release that was supposed to come out on Friday. It did. It was going to be a 7:00 show, but I just ended up not going because I didn't feel like it. They've been doing the re-releases have been doing very well also. I mean, Revenge of the Sith did very, very well with their 20th anniversary re-release earlier this year. And they've been Princess Mononoke had a re-release, and Apollo 13 and a lot of that. And it might not make a shit ton of money. Avatar 2, for crying out loud, is out this weekend also. Re-releases also. So movie theaters are starting to figure it out a little bit. So they figured, why not? Why not? There's been a couple movies come out recently that have been close to 3 to 4 hours that have intermissions as well. Why not just roll the dice and see what happens? And Kill Bill is a fairly popular story. So why not see if the people particularly the Quentin fans who've wanted to see it the way he had always pictured it as one big movie, if they're going to come out in droves and watch it. I mean, I don't know what else is coming out December 5th to compete with it. And that is on a Friday because my daughter's birthday is the 12th, and that is a Friday. I know that for a fact. But I'm not sure, what it's going to be. So if you're a fan of Quentin and you're a fan of Kill Bill, keep your eyes out for December 5th when they release Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. About a 4-hour long probably movie, but it's 1 and 2 mashed together into one movie. So good on them. The Loki Ceratops rangiform is a new horned dinosaur that was discovered. I just like the name; it was kind of cool. Pilion trailer with Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Mealing. Don't know much about that, but that came out this week also. We got our first look at Playdate, Amazon's new show or new movie with Alan Ritchson and Kevin James. Looks like a action comedy. Ritchson playing his sort of Reacher sort of character, and Kevin James playing his regular Kevin James sort of character. They team up to take care of their kids for whatever reason. Alan Ritchson's probably being hunted by terrorists or something, and their kids are having a play date, but they have to go on the run. And he's, Ritchson's probably some high class, killer or army guy or whatever, and has to have Kevin James and also watch out for Kevin James' family to try to survive this attack. Typical sort of cliche sort of movie type of thing Amazon likes to do. Why not? I mean, get some big stars in it. It'll probably do really well because that's what people want to see. They like seeing the same old stuff over and over again most times. Disney Plus is also developing Afterlife with Archie, which was a comic book series that sort of fizzled out when Francisco, I forget his last name. He's a very detailed artist. It just took him forever to draw every episode of it and every issue of the comic, and it just sort of ended. There was really no ending. They just canceled the series or whatever. It was a pretty decent comic series for a while. But they are now going to be doing a TV series, which will be showrun by the guy who wrote the original comic book. So maybe he'll be able to end his series the way he wants it. But Afterlife with Archie is in the works, probably will be out by next Halloween, I would assume. Here's a weird the guy who directed Together, that body horror film with Alison Brie and David, what's his face, her husband, Marsden, I think. Not Marsden. I forget his name, whoever. His next film is Hotel, 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 Hotel. Yes, that's 4 hotels. It is A24 is doing the production for it again, and it is a science fiction thriller about a guy who's trapped in a hotel room, and he has to work with himself to escape it. Hence the name Hotel, 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 Hotel. It's probably like, 4 multiverse versions of him all coming together to try, and we're all in the same boat as he is, stuck in this hotel room. They have to figure out a way to get out. So could be an interesting film. Again, they just announced it. At the earliest, it'll come out next year, late probably. So we'll see. No casting, no script has been done yet. So they just announced. I mean, the script might have been done, but no. And the director's been chosen, but he might be in pre-production now, but he doesn't have a cast yet. So we'll keep an eye open for that. Anniversaries. Talked about the reboot of Scrubs. Well, the original Scrubs debuted 24 years ago this week. Near Dark, one of the best vampire movies that nobody's ever seen, and was on my most underrated movies list I did a couple weeks ago. Debuted 38 years ago this week. Ants, I talked about this also, how there's sometimes movies release, 2 movie companies release sort of the same similar type movies at the same time, i.e. Mission to Mars and Red Planet, Deep Impact, Armageddon, Dante's Peak, Volcano, stuff like that, The White Earp and Tombstone, stuff like that. Well, back in the day, A Bug's Life and Ants, both basically stories about ants for the most part. Well, Ants is about ants, and A Bug's Life is about bugs having to deal with oppressive people or other insects. Came out a few months between each other. Ants was a DreamWorks production, had Woody Allen and Sylvester Stallone in the vocal roles. And Bug's Life, which was one of the lesser of the Pixar movies, the second Pixar movie they ever made. So that Ants, the DreamWorks one, came out 27 years ago this week, which means Bug's Life came out 27 years ago this week. Or not this week, 27 years ago this year. Zombieland debuted 16 years ago this week. The Martian debuted 10 years ago this week. Joker also debuted this week, though I didn't see it in there, but I remember watching it on my anniversary. It was October 4th, maybe 2018, 2019. So, or maybe it was after 21. So it's between like 4 and 7 years ago, but it did come out this week. Walt Disney World in Florida opened 54 years ago this week. Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, Tim Burton's adaptation of the children's book, debuted 9 years ago this week, and Mystery Alaska debuted 26 years ago this week. Deaths, Lawrence Moten, 53-year-old former college basketball player, passed away this week. And that's it for that page. I got 2 more full pages to go. And then moving along here, let me see how I'm doing in fantasy here real quick. I'm getting my ass whooped. That's great. I better not lose to this guy who had 2 people on IR as his starters. He's beaten me now, 61-50, 47-60. Now, the difference is we have our quarterbacks. The Bills are playing the Patriots, so my quarterback is Josh Allen. His quarterback is Drake May. So I'm hoping that Josh Allen will have a big game because I need that right now. All right, let me check one last thing here real quick, see if there's anything else going on. Excuse me. Good for you, Blue Jays. Keep it up. All right. Where was I? World's first mushroom-powered waterless toilet that uses bacteria to break down solid waste and turn it into mulch while also getting rid of bad smells. Debuted somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but that's kind of a crazy idea, See, that's what we need. We need stuff like that done instead of all this fucking hatred we have towards everybody. We need to do stuff like that. Dog Day Afternoon, the film with John Cavale and Al Pacino, has been turned into a Broadway production. and it is opening very soon with John Barenthal and Eben Moss Backrack. Eben Moss playing the Thing and John Barenthal playing the Punisher, teaming up for the roles in Dog Day Afternoon. I would assume Barenthal is probably going to play the Al Pacino role, and Eben Moss Backrack is going to play John Cavale's role, but I could be wrong. That just seems like the obvious choices. John Malkovich is set to play President Snow in the Hunger Games on Broadway. So, Broadway has always been an attraction for stars, so it's good to see that. The Zoe Saldana, Nicole Kidman, Taylor Sheridan series, Lioness, gets a season 3. Man, I mean, Nicole Kidman's like in 4 or 5 different TV series. That's crazy that she's doing all this stuff. Jeremy Irons has joined the cast of Highlander, which should start filming next year after Cavill gets back from his injury. This just sounds awesome. Lena Headey and Gillian Anderson are set to play frontier rival women in a Netflix series that's supposedly coming out later this year, which not much left time in the year. I haven't heard a goddamn thing about it. That sounds like fucking awesome. Lena Headey and Gillian Anderson, Jesus God, in a frontier TV show set in the Old West. Oh my God. On Netflix, no doubt. That's going to be great too. Yeah, there's the first one I don't understand. It's a new Frankenstein trailer. That's what it was. It makes me a little more excited for the Frankenstein movie that's coming out here. Guillermo del Toro doing it from Netflix. It's going to be out in movie theaters in a couple weeks, and then it'll debut in November, I believe, on Netflix. So that'll be kind of cool to watch that. So the trailer looks really, really good. Actually, I think it's going to be a really good movie, and I can't wait to see it. I will watch it. That'll be awesome. Looks like Glenn Powell and Michael B. Jordan are going to be bringing Miami Vice to life. It appears that they are going to be the cast members for the new movie update from the director of Top Gun Maverick and F1. So that's decent casting, actually, for Miami Vice. That could be really, really good. SAG-AFTRA condemns Hollywood attempts to sign an AI actress by the name of Tilly Norwood. So to show how awful AI is doing for the arts, someone created an actress done completely in AI called Tilly Norwood. And Hollywood has been trying to sign her to films. Why not? Not to pay her anything and bring costs down. But it's cutting actual actors who need the jobs to survive from getting these roles. So, hope their fight wins. The Simpsons movie sequel is finally coming after many, many years. People talking about it. It has officially been announced this week that The Simpsons will be releasing a sequel to their movie in movie theaters. This is old remembrance. Sears at one time used to sell donkeys through their iconic catalog in the old days. Buy a donkey for $14.95, something like that. So it must have been some of the 50s or 60s. Sears catalog no longer exists. I don't think Sears even exists anymore, to be honest. Nightmare of Nature. We finally got our trailer for it. I talked about this when they first announced it a couple weeks ago. It's a Netflix documentary series. And I was always wondering what was it about? What was it going to be about? We finally got our trailer for it. It is a documentary series, or it might be just a documentary movie that is narrated by Maya Hawke, and it is exactly kind of what we thought. It's going to be just a documentary about animals getting hunted and eaten by other animals. Yeah. So, just time for Halloween too. I think it's coming out in a couple weeks. Jared Kushner and Saudi Arabia, and the Saudi Arabian group, have bought EA Sports video games. That's not anything in any way defies political stuff. which is bullshit because Jared Kushner is related to the convict in chief right now, and this is totally against everything. But you know what? No one's going to do a goddamn thing about it because that's where we are now. Aldous Hodge is set to join the cast of Roadhouse 2. Why not? His Cross TV show has done very well for Amazon. So they said, hey, why don't you join this cast of this movie? And they said, okay. Gary Oldman has officially been knighted. He is now Sir Gary Oldman. So now you have to say Sir Gary Oldman now every time you talked about him. Edward Scissorhands is set to get a 4K release, which is good. It's probably, in my opinion, the best score by Danny Elfman ever. It should be interesting to see that. I'm still excited for the Pee-wee's Big Adventure Criterion Collection DVD. So that's coming out around Christmas time. And I just got my Flow Criterion collection film, so I'm happy about that. Haven't watched it yet, but I'm really excited that I got that. I also got my Life of Chuck and my Superman, so I'm good. A 6.9 earthquake hit Philippines, killed some more people. Philippines just are having a rough time right now. Alicia Silverstone's British BBC mystery series Irish Blood gets a season 2. Greenland 2, The Migration trailer debuted this week. Tracy Ullman is set to join the cast of Ted Lasso this season for season 4. Anniversaries. Cheers debuted 43 years ago this week. Today, the Smashing Pumpkins song debuted 32 years ago this week. Ed Wood debuted 31 years ago this week. The Flintstones debuted 65 years ago this week. The Big Chill debuted 42 years ago this week. Cool Runnings debuted 32 years ago this week. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre debuted 51 years ago this week. Night of the Living Dead debuted 57 years ago this week. Serenity debuted 20 years ago this week, which means that I worked the Baltimore Comic-Con 20 years ago this week as well, because I remember handing out the passes to see that movie. The Social Network debuted 15 years ago this week. Dexter debuted 19 years ago this week. Deaths, Renato Casal, film poster artist, passed away this week. Michelle Burke, a makeup artist, an award winner, did Interview with a Vampire and a few other things as well. She passed away this week as well. Franklin Robert King Jr., a CFL player, passed away this week as well. On to our final page. There it is, last story. Amazon acquires a Civil War spy drama, The Gray House, set to debut next year. Surfing has now become an official high school sport in Hawaii. Why not? Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, who've been together for 19 years, have announced their divorce. So Nicole Kidman is on the market again. If you're interested in her, she's a fellow June 20th baby, so that's really cool. Reading Rainbow is coming back, this time with Michael the Librarian. So that's pretty cool. We're going to see some of that. Scott Speedman, who hasn't been heard of in a long time, is returning with his own show called R.J. Decker, which is an adaptation of Carl Hiaasen's Double Whammy, set to get a series on ABC. Matthew Lewis, who played Neville Longbottom, and Eleanor Thompson are set to star in a 4-part mystery called The Family Secret. Zootopia 2 trailer. I think I talked about that last week, but I announced it again this week. Josh Hartnett, while filming what sounds to be an awesome Newfoundland monster film for a TV series for Netflix, was injured in a car accident, but he's doing okay. We'll be recovering soon. A new Lord of the Rings video game, similar to Hogwarts Legacy, is set to be in the works right now, which means they'll give you an open area of the Lord of the Rings universe to Middle Earth to walk around in and just admire and do stuff. China invents bone glue, which is set to set bones and heal fractures in 3 minutes. Again, we should be doing stuff like this, but good on them to do that. Bridgerton season 4 is set to debut 2026 officially from Netflix. We get the new Jay Kelly trailer. This film also started to look really, really much better. Also, I'm going to check that out too. That'll be out, I think, in movie theaters in November and officially on Netflix in December as well. That's Adam Sandler, George Clooney, and Laura Dern. Denis Villeneuve, who's going to be directing the next James Bond movie, gave us some clues about what he plans on doing. He's going to cast an unknown in the role of James Bond, and it appears to be an origin story for James Bond, because we never actually gotten an origin story for James Bond before. So it appears that the next James Bond movie is going to be an origin story for James Bond with a young unknown actor who can continue the role in Succession movies. If it's successful, obviously it should be. So that way they can do 4, 5, 6, maybe be as long as Sean Connery was James Bond as well, as long as they get a good actor or whatever. So that's interesting to hear that. Dead of Winter trailer. Emma Thompson's new TV show gets a trailer for that also. Dragon Ball is the first anime, manga, whatever, to collaborate with Minecraft. So they have a collab in the works there. Norway bans deforestation. So that's out. I cannot read this. Slide out kitchen drawer for vertically challenged people, which basically means that what they showed in the advertisement was it's a stove, and you have the stove, and there were these, cabinets up the top that a vertically challenged person, doesn't necessarily mean a little person, but someone who's like 5 foot or whatever, can't reach up there. So what they do is they have a built-in stand that you can pull out from underneath the stove. People stand on, gives you that extra couple inches lift to get you to where you want to for that. So that's interesting. Brooklyn Nine-Nine has been voted the best comedy, best sitcom of the 2010s. It absolutely deserves it. I've been trying to figure out who's in the new Cliffhanger reboot and why they've already started working on a second one and how it sold for big money. Lily James and Pierce Brosnan, which is a really interesting casting, but now it sort of makes a little bit more sense. Those are two really good actors who have been some fairly big news, big stuff lately. It means that's what's up there for. Every time I cannot read this. So, no idea. Moving on. One Piece manga. This is where I got the title for this episode. One Piece manga is to be displayed in a museum in Japan as historical, epic, cultural history, which is fantastic. I figured that'd be a great name for this episode, so that's why I co-opted it. David Ajaki joins Law and Order. That's what it was. Actor David Ajaki joins Law and Order. He was on the new Star Trek TV show. I talked about that also. And Denise Go is set to join the cast of the something reboot. No idea, but I said it, so there we go. Before we get to the last story of the week, let's do anniversaries and deaths. Anniversaries, what the 3 years ago. No idea what that says. Star Trek Next Generation debuted 38 years ago this week. Remember the Titans debuted 25 years ago this week. Halloween 6 debuted 30 years ago this week. Hotel Transylvania debuted 13 years ago this week. Best in Show debuted 25 years ago this week. Blonde debuted 3 years ago this week. That was the Anna de Armas sexually charged Marilyn Monroe biopic. Pacific Heist debuted 35 years ago this week. Contagion debuted 14 years ago this week. The Elvira movie debuted 37 years ago this week. And Zoolander debuted 24 years ago this week, which was amazing at the time because that movie was supposed to come out. It was the first, Zoolander is the first movie to come out after 9/11 because once 9/11 happened, they shut down everything for 3 weeks. And Zoolander was the first movie to come back into movie theaters, a brand new film. And that debuted 24 years ago this week. Desk, Catherine Herbert Gregory, an actress, passed away at the age of 52. Just saw that right before I went live today. Jerry Inglis, a Canadian Football League player and executive, also passed away this week. Last story this week is trees get aroused when ivy chokes them. It's a fun little sexual thing, but I guess, trees do have a way to procreate and get themselves ready for it, and when ivy chokes around them, it arouses them. It's funny, it's goofy, but apparently it's true. So good on you. All right, that was this week's depressing episode. Sorry for all that, but honestly, I'm just treading water here now. Hopefully next week will be good. There's really nothing exciting going on next week that I can think of off the top of my head. I have a dentist appointment on Thursday. That's about it. So I'll be home. Have about half a day on Thursday. That's about it. Other than that, nothing happened the weekend. My wife and son will be home for the weekend. So that'll be good. And then the weekend after that, we have our wedding. So that one, we'll see when we do the show for that. I don't know. It'll probably be Sunday late because we're going to be coming back till Sunday from the wedding. So that's going to be interesting in a couple weeks. But that's in a couple weeks, not this week. So here's hoping that nothing horrible happens this week, that my football team just got something and stops giving up. And next week, they're not going to, though. They're probably not going to win here. That's just me being pessimistic. So we'll see what happens. All right. On that note, this depressing episode is now in the books. I'm going to get ready to order pizza here in about 10 minutes. That's the other thing else I got to go through online now, which sucks. Instead of going to the app, which is so much easier. I'll check the app again. Let's just do it live and see if they'll allow me to order it. See if they fix the app. So it's been about a month, so let's find out. No, I'm okay with that. Order, pickup, start pickup order. Five meat feasts. Extra best is pepperoni, crazy sauce, Italian cheese bread. All right, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to find out. No thanks. Huh. Well, let me try this and see what happens. All right, see you guys later.